Hello everyone, this is Eric. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we going to summarize on the book 0 to 1. So let's start. 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel is a thought-provoking guide to entrepreneurship, innovation, and building successful startups. Thiel, a co-founder of PayPal and prominent venture capitalist, offers a fresh perspective on creating businesses that go beyond mere competition and instead aim to create new and revolutionary value. Chapter 1, The Challenge of the Future. The future is a time when things will look differently than they do today. By this definition, the future might not happen for another 100 years if nothing changes. On the other hand, the future might come tomorrow if there is rapid change. We don't know much about the future, but we do know that it will be different from the present and that it will emerge from today's world. There are two different kinds of progress. Horizontal progress occurs from copying things that work. It's going from 1 to n, so that if you have a typewriter and then you build 100 more, you've achieved horizontal progress. Vertical progress is achieved by doing something wholly new. It means going from 0 to 1. This kind of progress is hard to imagine, because it's something that's never been done before. If you have a typewriter and then you build a word processor, you've achieved vertical progress. Globalization, taking things from one place and applying them everywhere else, is horizontal progress. Vertical progress comes from technological breakthroughs, and technology, by the way, doesn't just describe computers. Any new way of doing things can be called technology. Globalization and technology are two different kinds of progress that might or might not happen concurrently. You can have one type without the other, you can have both, or maybe neither of them. Between the two kinds, technology will be the defining force of the future. There's a tendency to imagine that we're nearing some sort of end state. Even the expression, developed world, implies that some countries have climbed the mountain and that, undeveloped, countries just need to catch up. Our technology isn't sustainable, however, especially if everyone else adopts it. We have limited resources and our environment can't endure the pollution that level of development would generate. Globalization without advances in technology would devastate the planet. At one time, people thought technology would continue to improve in all directions. We wouldn't have to work so many hours, we'd be riding in flying cars, we'd be taking vacations to the moon. The only area that's seen real vertical progress, however, is computer technology. Progress isn't a given. It doesn't happen automatically. We must first imagine and then create the world in which we want to live. New technology comes from startups. Big organizations lumber around uselessly, and individuals don't have the resources to create an entire industry. Small, agile groups foster innovation. Chapter 2, Party like it's 1999. It's easy to fall prey to popular delusional beliefs. Conventional wisdom can be persuasive. One way to think clearly and eliminate delusion is to study history. Look at the 1990s, some people have warm, nostalgic sentiment for this era, but both good things and bad things happened in the 1990s. Grunge music proves how bummed out everyone was. Then, dot-com mania raged from 1998 to 2000. Investors were throwing money at any startup. People were leaving good-paying jobs to strike out on their own and form new companies, certain that they would become rich. A lot of money was lost, but people believed so strongly in the dot-com economy that they didn't heed the warning signs. The cognitive dissonance of Silicon Valley was terrifying. The tech bubble and irrational exuberance made common sense seem like an eccentric attitude. The dot-com crash brought the good times to a halt, and this trauma still affects Silicon Valley. It instilled some deep-seated beliefs in the valley that persist to this day, including suspicion of grandiose visions. Small advances, incremental changes are safer. Agility became one of the most valuable characteristics a firm could have. Rather than investing in long-term plans, companies needed to be lean and mean, able to respond to changing circumstances. Improving products in existing markets became more important than creating new markets. Look at what competitors are doing and imitate them. Many people consider these lessons learned to be of central importance. Actually, there is probably more wisdom to be found in the opposite principles. There's a lot of value in being bold and making big moves. If it even needs to be said, planning is important. Competitive markets aren't where the big profits can be found, it's better to create new markets. And it's important to keep in mind that sales are as important as product. Advertising is not a waste of resources. People are overcompensating, but they need to get back to taking risks. They shouldn't go crazy with it like they did in the 90s, they have to strike the right balance between caution and taking chances on innovation. Chapter 3, All happy companies are different. It's possible for a company to create a lot of value without actually becoming valuable itself. A successful company captures some of the value that it creates. One important factor that determines how much a company earns is competition. The level of competition varies from company to company and industry to industry. Think of it like a scale. On one end, you have a perfect monopoly where there is absolutely no competition. Some companies become monopolies by using questionable tactics against potential competitors, others become monopolies because they get licenses or lucrative contracts with the state. Then, there are some companies that achieve monopolies because they are innovative and have something unique to offer. When Thiel talks about monopolies, we're talking about this last group, companies that are so good that they have left their rivals in the dust. On the other end of the scale, where there is a lot of competition, price is affected primarily by supply and demand. The product that one company offers is very similar to the product other companies sell. These companies have to price the product at whichever point the market forces determine. It isn't possible for companies to make much money under these circumstances. Competitive businesses have super tight margins, while monopolies can afford to think about things besides the bottom line. Monopolies are better for profit. Both monopolies and competitive companies are likely to tell white lies about themselves. Monopoly companies don't like to invite government scrutiny by admitting that they are a monopoly. Competitive companies tend to understate their competitive condition and emphasize ways in which they're unique. In a static world, monopolies are bad because they just sit around and collect money. They can jack up the price of their product, knowing that people will have to pay whatever they charge. In a dynamic world, however, monopolies are creative forces that give people more choices. And the government understands this. That's why we have the patent system that we do. Patents allow companies to have monopolies for a while. It incentivizes invention. Companies know that if they invent something new, they'll have a monopoly on it for a substantial amount of time, so they'll be able to make a good profit from it. Tolstoy observed that all happy families are alike, but unhappy families are each unique in their unhappiness. This is the opposite for business. Happy companies create unique monopolies for the circumstances they face. Unhappy businesses all have the same problem, competition. Chapter 4, The Ideology of Competition. Innovative monopolies generate profits and create new products that benefit society. Competition limits innovation and profits. We have been indoctrinated to believe that it's a positive force, but competition is an ideology that doesn't serve us very well. Our culture reinforces this ideology, but that doesn't make it any truer. There are two different ways to look at competition. You can frame it the way Marx did or the way that Shakespeare did. In Marx's world, people have conflict because their life circumstances have made them different from each other. Workers fight the bourgeoisie because they have conflicting goals and ideas. The way that Shakespeare saw it, however, is that people are mostly alike. They don't have many reasons to fight, but they do it anyway. The more they fight each other, however, the more they become like one another. When it comes to the world of business, Shakespeare's viewpoint is more accurate. People get competitive with their rivals and lose sight of the important goals. Look at Google and Microsoft like the warring families in Romeo and Juliet. They battle each other because they are similar. Competition limits vision and encourages obsessive hostility. It can mess with people's perceptions and priorities. It makes people copy one another. which limits their creative potential. It can cause people to see opportunities where none exist. In the 1990s, there was intense competition among online pet stores, Pets.com, Petopia.com, Petstore.com, and who knows how many others fighting for market dominance. They were too busy fighting amongst themselves to determine if online pet stores were even a lucrative enough concept to both. In essence, 0 to 1 challenges the status quo and encourages entrepreneurs to seek out unique opportunities, challenge norms, and build businesses that create groundbreaking value. The book provides a framework for aspiring entrepreneurs to think differently about innovation, competition, and the future of business. Thank you everyone listening to our audio. Please like and subscribe to our channel.